Hi, our video today is about how you as an author can work seamlessly with your book cover designer. I'm Talia Newland, the Managing Editor at AIA Publishing.
And I'm Rose Newland, the book cover designer at AIA Publishing.
So what should an author be looking for when they want to hire a book designer?
Well, the first thing is to look at their website and their social media. Check you like their style of work. Check that they've done work in your particular genre before, because that kind of experience really helps. Check that they're a nice person that you think you're going to be able to communicate with and work with and get along with. When we get to the nitty-gritty of things, you need to check the services they actually provide. So some book cover designers will only provide cover files. So an ebook and a print cover is a standard option from a cover designer, whereas a book designer will provide everything you need to publish the book, covers and the inside as well. And that gives you a much more holistic design process, so it allows you to make the inside of the book look just as pretty as the cover. Then there's the really boring stuff like making sure there's a contract in place. So you're both very clear on what files you will actually receive from the designer, the timeline, the exact cost or potential extras that might come into that. And then you're both on a really clear path. And expect to pay a deposit as well. Good book designers are often booked up months in advance. So if you usually pay a deposit, you'll lock in your spot in their schedule. And then once all of that's done, you're ready to start the fun part.
So what information does an author need to give you at the start of the process?
Well, the very first thing I need to know is what files do you need? Are you after just a cover, or do you want the interior as well? It really helps if you know what platform you're going to be publishing on, because that helps with some technical specifications that are all very boring, which I won't go into. In terms of the actual book itself, I need to know the title, the genre, and whether it's part of a series. Then a blurb or synopsis is really useful. And then after that, any other information you want to give me. I love to know key symbols, mood elements, anything that you might think goes well on the cover or really needs to be on the cover. Who are the main characters? What kind of world do they live in? What's the mood of the world? All of that stuff helps me just really get a vibe for the story. Unfortunately, I don't have time to read every single book, so this is like as much as you can give me inspiration-wise at the start of the process. That really helps me, sort of delve into your story world. I love examples for inspiration. If there's covers that you like the style of or particular things on certain covers, I love people sending me those. Or just images of this is kind of what my main character looks like, or that sort of stuff. I'm also fine if an author says, I don't know what I want on the cover, you're the professional, go do it. And I love that as well. So it really depends on the author, but there's some basic things like a blurb, a title, and a genre is the main things.
I think that's one of the things about how we work together in AIA Publishing is that I have read the books. And so we have this discussion about, details, and also I look at her designs and I can say, yeah, this reflects the book or this doesn't. The other thing I notice about your designs is you're very able to design in a lot of different genres. I notice some book designers, they really specialise in one area, but you have the ability to do pretty much any kind of genre, which I think is really helpful.
Keeps it interesting.
So what if I'm an author and I've designed a book cover myself and I've just coming to you because I want it done, more professionally than I've done it myself?
Yes, well, congratulations on coming to me for a start.
That was a good move.
It was a good move. I always have to check in with the author and sort of feel out how attached to the design they are. Obviously, it depends. Some authors are better at designing their own covers than others, but it's always a really good starting point because I can tell immediately the key elements, moods, symbols, and things that they want to have on the cover. And I can always see where they're kind of coming from in the design, even if, some of the common problems with authors doing it themselves is they're just putting too many different things on the cover. And then it sort of becomes a jumble of elements. The other place authors fall down on is font choice and font treatment. It's a huge part of book cover design in a professional sense is picking and getting the typography really right. If I think any of the images they've used are good and usable, then I'll make sure we have the proper copyright permissions to use them. But I'll usually have to sort of rearrange things, start again. Maybe I'll find a different image of the same thing that fits in the style of the other images. And it's usually a matter of just rearranging and making the elements all a bit more cohesive and
And often removing some elements.
Some elements because
because they tend to put too much in it.
I've also had authors come to me saying, this is my current cover and my book isn't selling. Can you do it better? And then they're fine with me throwing it out and starting again. But it's always a good starting point, as I said, because it's all of their reference images in one package. And I just go, okay, I can see what you're trying to do. Let's do it better with lots of hand symbols.
I just want to add a little thing about fonts, because I know that is definitely the area where, I mean, I have an art background, but I don't have a graphic design background. And I know that when I look at the fonts that you choose, I can recognise that, wow, that's great. And that if I'm doing something, I have no idea about the fonts, absolutely no idea. And you're particularly good at that. There's a mark between an amateur cover and a professional cover is the font.
And we'll go into that in a lot more detail in another video on book design and all the things about, if you have art training, you're not necessarily a book designer, because there's some very different things that are specific.
Yeah, you only have to look at the book covers that I designed, even with my art teacher background, and go, So what does the author actually receive at the end of the book cover design process?
As I said at the beginning, it depends on the package that you're getting, but my package, my full book publication design package, will give the author all the files that they need to publish a book. So that includes an ebook JPEG file, a print cover PDF file that's ready for upload to their distribution platform of choice, a PDF interior file of the book, and then also a reflowable ebook file, which will go straight onto all your e-reading devices. I also give 3D mock-ups, which they can use in marketing, and there's all kinds of additional marketing material that I can chuck in there as well.
And gosh, when I first started out publishing my own books, I wish I had somebody like you that I could come to and say, just do all my files, because, creating the ebook and the interior formatting.
Yeah.
When you're an author, it's like, you just want to write, and getting your head around all of that and trying to do it professionally is so difficult. So, okay, so does that mean that I own the design?
So the final images that you are given, you have an exclusive and perpetual rights to use that for your book in perpetuity. But I, as the designer, keep the original working files.
Right. So
I retain the copyright for the designs, and you have the full exclusive rights to the final images and artworks that are produced.
Right. So it's like I have the license to use that, and nobody else can use that.
Yeah.
Right.
Some designers charge an extra fee if you want to release those working files to the author, and others include it as part of their package, but they also charge way more.
Yeah.
So.
Because if you give me the original working files, I can make a mess
ruin
of them.
it.
I can make a real mess of them. So you're actually giving the copyright to me to mess up as much as I like.
Yeah, and then it's all your fault if you ruin it.
Then I can't use your name anymore.
Yeah, whereas if I keep the original files, if you later need things changed, then I can make sure that it's done properly.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's very boring stuff.
Well, no, it's not. It's not boring, because as an author, I want to actually know.
Yeah. Well, that's why you should always make sure it's listed the exact files that you will get at the end of the process. So, JPEGs, PDFs, those are all finished files ready for upload and use. They're not working files.
Yeah. So what tips do you have for a smooth process of working with a book cover designer?
Look, the main thing is to trust your designer. Be open and communicative. It's a collaboration process. We love visual references and inspiration. We love chatting with you and getting deep into your story world. And then we like to go away and create. And it's really great if you just let us go and do our thing at that point. Don't expect the first version to be perfect. We'll come back to you with concepts. There'll be ideas, there'll be options, and we'll explain why we've chosen certain things, why we've done it a certain way. And then, there's a back and forth of some revisions, but try not to get too fixated on the details. We don't like it when you micromanage us.
An author can get really sort of fixated on something that actually, when you look at it as an overall design, isn't really important.
Yeah, and don't expect every single element from your book to make it onto the cover. At a certain point, it can become too busy, and us as the designer, we will be making those choices based on what we know of the market, what we know of the genre, and all of those things. So you have to remember that your designer is the professional in the space. And it can be really frustrating as a designer if you are advising the author against certain changes that they want to make and listing out it takes me a really long time to explain sometimes these reasons that their suggestion is a bad idea. And then they still come back and go, no, I want it changed anyway. And then the design starts to suffer from it.
Yeah.
And so that's really demoralizing for us.
Like, I've seen some of the emails that she writes explaining in great detail the artistic elements, like the reason, and you shouldn't really have to do that, because the author should just trust that they've employed someone who has all that knowledge and all that experience. And therefore, when you say, look, this is the best cover, that really should be enough, because...
I mean, I like to explain it to the authors so that they can, understand
hopefully
that...
accept that.
Yeah, I'm not just saying, no, it's better because I said so, because that doesn't help anyone.
No,
so I do always explain my choices to clients.
Like me with editing, I tell authors why I'm doing certain things, so you actually learn through the process.
I get it. You feel really strongly, you want it to be a perfect cover, you want it to really represent your book, and we get that. But at the same time, we have to make sure you have a cover that's going to sell your book, because it is a marketing tool first and foremost. So trust us. Essentially, it comes down to trusting your designer. They're the professional.
Yeah, and if you've chosen someone whose work you like, then...
There's a reason.
Yeah, you should be able to trust them.
Yeah.
So what is it that you enjoy about being a book designer?
I really love the process of distilling each story into a visual format. Each book is so unique. I really get to dive in there and sort of pull out these little elements and the mood and distill that into a beautiful cover that's going to stand out and sell the book. It's the reason I don't do template covers. I don't really see the point in designing a cover when I don't know what the book is about. You just end up with a really generic cover. It's like, oh, it's a fantasy book. It's got a chick with a sword on the front who looks tough. But I want to know who she is, what world she's in, because it's a collaboration with the author as well. They're always so excited about their book and they're so excited to bring it to life. And I know how nerve-wracking it is to have worked for so long on something and finally be getting ready to show it to the world. And the book cover is like this last little packaging of the process. You sort of package it all up nicely, make it look beautiful, and get it ready to sort of send out into the world. So it's a huge responsibility, but I really love working with the author and being able to support them through that last process, because I know how nerve-wracking it is. It's taking words, turning them into visuals, sending them off into the world.
And it's very creative.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a really creative person, so it really suits you. And have that visual aesthetic.
Any more questions?
No, I think that's it for today. I hope that you found it helpful.
And this advice can really be applied to any designer on any project, whether that be book design, logo, branding, anything.
So if you enjoyed this video, please do
the things.
Give us a like, share it, follow it, and you've probably turned off the video by now anyway. But
yeah, they're not listening anymore.
They're not listening
this
anymore.
This is just the post
we
bit
have
where
to
there's
say it.
other videos somewhere around. Why are we still talking?
Because we've got subscribe buttons and things. And I think you should definitely leave that.
That's fine. That's done. We've done it.